promised a few guys a while back that I'd do a little video on drawing flames, and I'll start off by saying I'm not an expert on flames or anything like that. I'm just a guy who draws a lot. You know, I get paid to do it for a living, and I've painted a few things with flames. I had a hockey helmet that had flames on it, and computer mailbox, those kinds of things, but I've never done a car, never painted a car. I have laid them out before, pretty much for fun, just to show people what the flames would look like, but I've never painted a car with flames. So I'm not a flame expert, but what I have seen is a lot of people who try and do flames for the first time, or they're not real skilled with a pencil, or just artistically, and there's some stumbling blocks that they run into, and that's kind of what I want to cover, is the basic way a flame is drawn, I guess, the shapes and how you do it, and just kind of some of the background behind it. So if you're trying to draw flames for the first time, hot rod flames, for the first time, that you'll know what to look for, and when you look at your flame and say, well, that's not as good as I really want it to be, you can hopefully answer the question, why isn't it? So yeah, we'll get right to it. I started just by I start when I draw just by taking my pencil, and what you want to do, you can't see me hitting my shoulder, but you want to draw from the shoulder, not from the wrist. Okay, when you draw from the wrist, everything tightens up. You get these funny things. When you draw from the shoulder, you get these real, I call them wine bottle type shapes, these real sinuous curves, and that's what flames are all about, is the curve. So draw from your shoulder, keep your hand nice and stiff, but you can draw some circles, but the shape I see in flames a lot is this teardrop shape. So when you're looking at a flame, you see that teardrop shape all over the place. So if you can practice with some teardrops, and then when you do your flames, look for that teardrop shape in your flame work. So there's a number of ways to draw flames. I've seen a number of styles. Some flames, if I were to draw a straight line here, I'm going to tilt this toward me so I can draw it. Some flames are very symmetrical around a center line, and I'm going to draw this not the best, and we're going to fix it. So okay, it would come in and back out, and then this, and we want it to be symmetrical, right? So what's going to happen here is I'm going to look and find out why this doesn't look good, and I'll do it like that right there. Usually what you want to look for is the width of the flame needs to diminish as it gets toward the end. So here we have a nice thin spot. I think you guys can see that. It's thin here, and then it gets thicker. That's going to look wrong. This one is straight, so it doesn't get thinner or thicker, it just stays the same, and then it kind of gets a knuckle on it. So how do we fix this one? It's real easy, you just go, okay, we need a little more thickness here, and we're going to go till it gets thin, like that. So this one's going to come around and do the same thing, and we're going to end it nice and sharp. So then this one, if we want it to be the same, we're going to come up in the middle and come out, and then right back like that. So we're trying to mirror, and I'm sorry, my mirror line, I started drawing it wrong. So let's come around like this. I got to turn this back to me so I can draw. This one has a point right there. That's where it kind of breaks over. So we'll draw it like that, and come up, get thinner, 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 thinner. Nice sharp point. So we're still screwed up right there. So we need to fix that, just like that. Okay, so there are a few different pieces to this. So the flame has like a bulb piece, and then it kind of comes in, and then it has, I've heard some people refer to this as the lick out here on the end. This is the lick. So that's the kind of final tap on it. I see a lot of flames that sort of cut off in that area right there, and that's fine, but you can extend them out and get these real sinuous kind of flames. So then all of these lines need to just flow from one to another. So usually you'll see a flame look a little bit like that. So again, here's our teardrop shape, right? If you were to just kind of outline that, and I forgot my marker. I was going to outline these in marker so we could see sort of a final result. So that's kind of a long flame. That's a totally symmetrical flame, And you know, some people would end this just the opposite, so I'll draw it really fast, hopefully. Is they want it to end on an inside, so the flame points toward itself like that. And then other people don't want them to be symmetrical, they want them to be different, right? So we'll start doing that, and then this other side may, and I drew that too long. I want it like that. Of course, you turn the camera on, your brain goes dead. So now we have an asymmetry in that bottom flame, so that you know, one's longer than the other, and you can kind of go wild with that. But you'll notice as I sit and redraw, I'm always looking at does it go thick to thin, and so forth. So you can choose. I've seen, let's use Slow SRT as an example. He does, the flames I've seen him draw are kind of short and stubby, which is kind of a cool look. It has more of a, let's call it a tough look to it. I'm going to try and replicate what I've seen him do. And I can't remember if he does his symmetrical or not, but his flames look a little bit more like that, the ones I've seen. And you know, so it's a real simple thing. It just comes out and then back in. But what you want to avoid, and you can do this too, you just got to be aware that you're doing it, is cutting the flame off before it licks, you know. It starts to look like a wave rather than a flame, but you can do it. I mean, it's just kind of at the top of a panel or something like that, but this one doesn't need to go in, it needs to go out, you know. You can do those things, but again, it's kind of having that critical eye, and am I going fat to thin, or how is this all working? See, these always kind of look like a lobster claw to me. They don't look like a flame, where if you turn these out, it kind of gets more of that flame look to it. So I hope I'm not boring anybody. I hope that's good information. Now let's lay out a couple quick again, look for the teardrop shape. And I just screwed something up there, but that's alright. You got to just kind of keep loose and keep going, and then go back and fix your mistakes. So there's I almost need to sharpen my pencil. You know, if you're going down the side of a truck, maybe you want them a little bit longer as they go. So let's overdraw this and get it where we want it. You know, when you're laying these things out with tape, the tape comes up, you know, you can peel that tape up and stick it back down as many times as you want, and if it doesn't wind up sticking, you know, if it lets go, get a new piece of tape. That stuff's, now I'm not going to say it's cheap, but it's not expensive enough to warrant freaking out about throwing it away. So, and I like to draw, I think you guys can probably tell, I like to draw on the top side of my pencil. It seems like when I draw on the bottom side of my pencil, I lose it. So these lines I tend to draw from this direction. And again, these are very quick. Whoops, see, we got too thin there. We didn't start getting thick. Again, the teardrop shape, we're going to extend that out, come back, and you know, you can take your eraser and do what you want there. You know, that's why God invented these things. Great story about this eraser. I'll try and tell it as I'm drawing another something or other here. That was given to me, that eraser, by a guy who lived on the beach in Florida. I was out there doing some watercolor painting, and this guy owned a bicycle and a backpack, and everything he owned was in that backpack, and him and his buddy would beg for money and go to the Circle K and buy beer and sit on the beach and drink beer all afternoon, and that was their life. And he saw me painting, and he said, "Oh, I've got some art supplies, and I'll never use them. I just have them in my backpack. They've been going with me for years, I thought, what is this going to be? And he pulled out that eraser and he said, I want you to have this because you'll actually use it. And so I carry that eraser around with me, and I always think of that day on the beach sitting out there painting. It brings back great memories. Maybe not so much of the dude on the bike, but about that day at the beach. So now what I'm doing is I'm drawing some interactive flames here. So I'm kind of working on two different paths, and you know, you can kind of go nuts. I've seen some really crazy paint jobs that have these flames that interleave with one another, and we're just going to try our hand at it real quickly, just like this. So this guy here, you know, you got to be drawing on two different flames, and you got to keep them looking good, or it will stand out that you didn't know what you were doing. And I'm not real good at drawing and talking at the same time either, so I apologize for that. But here we go. So now we're going to start to erase. Okay, I want this set to be underneath the other one, but then it's going to come over. So that's going to come on top. That's going to be on the bottom, right? Then I want this one on top. So I'll erase this piece out. This is much faster to do in pencil than it is in masking tape. So I want that line right there to be good. And then this one goes away. Sort of. No. It goes away right here. Yeah, you kind of got to blink your eyes once in a while. And so let's see. We're going to put that one on the bottom. Then this one on the top. Okay. So we're starting to get there, right? Bottom, yep, that needs to come in. So now we're going to redraw these. Here we go. We're going to draw over the top of them, make them a little nicer, a little darker. And I think you guys will get the picture here. That you know what we're trying to do. And like I said, I'm just trying to give you some pointers to show you how to be critical of your own drawings, how to avoid the mistakes, how to correct the drawing mistakes and make your flames look awesome. That's it. Nothing more than that. I'm not an expert. I haven't painted a million cars with flames, but I've seen a lot of flames, and I always try and think very critically about what I'm seeing when I'm looking at the flames, and what that person did to get them to look like what they look like. So and there's books, and you can actually just hit the old Google up and type in hot rod flames, and you'll see a million flame jobs, and you can take this same information and look at those flame jobs very critically, and you'll see some bad ones, you'll see some good ones, you'll see some tribal ones, you'll see some crazy ones that it seems like there's no way to replicate those. And it is very important when you're doing these under-over ones to go ahead and draw the whole flame, because it'll stick out if you don't. It'll look like your lines don't really attach. It's weird how that works. But yeah, so there we go. There's some interleaving flames, and again, just very quickly, so they aren't perfect, they aren't awesome, but you know, it gives you a good idea of how we do these. And then, you know, let's come in here. We look for the teardrop shapes. You know, they're everywhere. And even, you know, sometimes between these you get these kind of, I'm going to call them eyeball shapes, you know, and you want those to all look nice at the end of the day when you go back in and revise and do your thing. So yeah, there we go. Flames kind of, I won't even call this 101, I'll call this, you know, 002. This is the beginning piece of how to draw flames, but it'll kind of get you to where you want to go. Let's go back to these guys. Yep, So there we go. There's some flames, hot rod flames. Enjoy.